Where the hell's the chat at, man? I guess it's just not. Yo. You. Was an imp. What are we talking about, man? What are we talking about? All right. We should be rolling. This one is crazy. All right. Keyframe interval 1.9 seconds. That's the biggest lie I've ever heard. From White Monster to top it off. Okay. What is going on, Crom brother? Can you tell me if everything is sounding good, looking good, except me, of course? I'm talking about the stream. Is it sounding all right? Music, mic, and the overall quality. Just need to make sure. Let's see here. Dun, 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 dun. All right. Hopefully we're chilling. Yes, they're good. Okay, awesome. Well, let's make some goddamn money today. Floating in the same amount of profit as yesterday. Donald Trump was talking for quite some time, and luckily it was a lot more positive than negative this time around. And so that's great, right? We can actually talk about that for a second. Because he basically said yesterday, Trump drops tariff threat and says he won't take Greenland by force. This guy probably realized that it was him against the whole freaking world. And then he finally came to his senses and said, okay, we'll pull back on it. And that's great, because that removes a lot of the uncertainty that we would have otherwise seen. And so that's also why we saw quite the pump yesterday. But let's talk about this long here, because why am I even long from this point forward? I mean, a lot of people have called me crazy for long in Bitcoin at this level. But let me tell you why. I've been in the industry for a long period of time. And whenever people call you crazy for doing something, you're probably doing the right thing. You see, people are always scared, right? When it's easy to be, they're always bearish when it's easy to be bearish, and they're always bullish when it's easy to be bullish, right? Let me explain. All the influencers and KOLs you see on your Twitter, right? You all see them post positively about Bitcoin here, right? Where it's very easy to be a bull, right? But as soon as they get any type of friction, they turn bearish. Why? Because it's easy to be bearish. They're afraid of being wrong, right? So when you see something like this, people start going crazy. And if you're bullish, they're calling you crazy. Now, it doesn't even have to be a pullback like this. I mean, you could probably go back on Twitter and just look at very minor corrections like this one, and you'll see KOLs posting about how this is the end of Bitcoin and this bear market was actually still intact, right? And so I've completely given up and taken advice from other people. I realized that the majority of people do not have the experience that I have. They haven't made the money that I have. And so why in the world would I ever take advice from people? And so that's, a lot of the reason behind this long here. Now, the technical analysis behind it is quite simple. First of all, we have a weekly fair value gap here that we are holding, right? In order for us to violate this imbalance, we need a candle closure below. And we just haven't seen that, right? And so in my opinion, As long as that keeps happening, right? Well, then in my eyes, bulls are in control. Now, what I really want to see is a candle closure above the bearish imbalance here to confirm that we are just going to go straight to all-time highs. Because again, that would mean bulls are holding bullish imbalances, whereas the bears fail to hold the bearish imbalances. And the reason for this entry, right, very precise, is due to the Fibonacci extension tool that I call my golden zone. And it's basically taking advantage of the two that you're seeing here. So the 79%, or sorry, the 71 and the 79%. Now I entered at the last one because it just overlapped here on a daily time frame with this demand zone that you're looking at here. Demand zone, order block, whatever the hell you want to call it. And so, yeah, that ended up working out quite well. Again, I have been in a lot more profit than I am now, but it is what it is. And so hopefully this will continue to go higher. But of course, the major part of the reason for me going long doesn't have to do with technical analysis. Let's check the monthly one. Which monthly? Oh, the bullish or the bearish one. Oh, I didn't even see that. That's true. We do have a large monthly imbalance here as well. So, I mean, this here will most definitely determine all-time highs or not. I mean, if we get a candle closure above this monthly imbalance that you're seeing here, that should pretty much do it, right? And again, I wouldn't necessarily consider us bearish until we get a monthly candle closure below the one that we're looking at here. Now, this is merely from a technical analysis point of view. Of course, we can look at, you know, the underlying macro environment, which is also the reason why I wanted to go long. I always say, right, that we use fundamental analysis to base our direction, and then we use technical analysis to time our entries. Okay, so what moves the market is macro, and you can use technical analysis to basically time your entries, right? But let's talk about why I wanted to go long on Bitcoin in the first place. I want to show you silver because this is a very trending chart as of recently, right? And I talked about this in the yesterday's stream too. And silver is interesting because we've actually never seen the amount of pump that we are seeing right now. I mean, we had, you know, large peaks here in the 80s and in 2011, 2012 here, but it doesn't really come close to what we're seeing now. And there's a bunch of different technical reasons for that. And one thing I can tell you is, according to history and just common sense, this is not sustainable. And then people will argue that, oh, you know, China is buying so much silver, blah, 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 blah. But here's the thing, right? There's a point where China will not continue to buy silver, right? There's a price where it's just not worth it for China to buy silver, or anyone else for that matter. And then it will have to come down, right? Right now, it's already very, very, very expensive. And sooner or later, this is going to come down, and it's going to come down aggressively. And it's not only silver, right? We're also seeing the exact same thing in gold here. But I want to show you the Russell 2000, actually. So let's quickly have a look at the Russell 2000. Because this can pretty much explain what we're seeing right now. I need to find the correct setting here. I'm so wrong. I don't know why it disappeared. All right, here we go. Let's have a look at this here. Actually, this one. Where the hell did it go? Okay, here we go. So the Russell 2000, right? Pretty much every time this has made new all-time highs, we got the beginning of an altcoin season. Right now, we've not only made all-time highs, but we're continuing to explode higher. Since pretty much January 1st here, the Russell 2000 has increased with almost 10%. Now, this is not a small asset, right? This is the index of all the small caps in the US, okay? And the reason why this is significant is because it can tell us a lot about the risk, the investor risk appetite. And in order to understand that, you need to look at the risk curve. So here is a pretty good representation of a risk curve. It goes like this. You can pretty much, you know, figure out when certain assets are going to pump based on the investor risk appetite in the economy. So whenever investors have a low risk appetite, you typically see assets such as the S&P 500 and gold start to rally, right? Then as the economy gets better and better and people start getting more confident, you'll see the singular stocks such as Nvidia, Apple, and Microsoft start to rally. Later on, later in the economic cycle, you'll find that small cap stocks starts rallying because the investor risk appetite has grown significantly enough for them to, want to allocate capital towards the small cap stocks. And that's exactly what the Russell 2000 here represents. And what's next in line on the risk curve? Well, that is crypto, right? And so this breaking out is a great sign that the capital rotation is in full effect, right? The reason why crypto is always the last asset to run is because it is the last asset on the risk curve. So we see all of these assets run, right, before crypto. And that's also why we can take advantage of this, because we can use all of these assets as an indicator for when crypto is going to go parabolic. For example, right now, the indicator is flashing because the small cap stocks are rallying. You see, the Russell 2000 here is not going to go up unless the small cap stocks in the US start performing well. And the small cap stocks in the US are not going to perform well if the investor risk confidence, isn't increasing. So this is perhaps one of the best indicators that we could have possibly seen. But that combined with what we saw yesterday, right? Trump drops tariff threats and he says he won't take Greenland by force. Look at what happened to gold right after that speech ended. It dropped 2.7%, right? Now, why would it drop 2.7%? Well, it's simple. It drops 2.7% because this here, right, what he said yesterday brings more confidence and certainty in the market. So when he says, we're not going to invade or take Greenland by force, that puts a lot more certainty in the economy. And then people start getting more confidence. They start reallocating their capital, right? Taking money out of their gold positions, putting them into Bitcoin positions because the economy is starting to look more certain, right? And the geopolitics. And so this here is proof, right? Picture perfect proof that the capital rotation is in full effect. We just need to remain patient. Now, the technical analysis is lining up perfectly with the underlying macro environment, really. Give me a second. I need to make sure the stream here is running good. It is perfect. Yeah, so the underlying, macro environment is great and the technical analysis supports it. I mean, have a look at this. What we're looking at here is the 90-day EMA. Okay. Now, let's look at 2023 because that's one of the times where Bitcoin used the 90-day EMA as a support level. And look what happened. A massive rally followed. But simultaneously, right, the stock RSI here crossed 10. So we went below 10 while we used the 90-day moving average as support. And look at what we're seeing now. The exact same thing as in 2023. Prices using the 90-day EMA as a support level, and the stock RSI has crossed 10 or went below 10, right? And so this here, if it's going to play out the same way it did in 2023, I mean, we are in for a wild ride, right? And all this stuff here, I know it doesn't really mean anything unless the underlying macro environment supports it, but it does, right? And that's the beauty of it. Not to speak about the global liquidity that we're seeing, right? Because a lot of people, or most people, should know that the reason why Bitcoin has performed so terribly compared to what it should have done in 2025 is because we've had liquidity issues, right? So we've had so many positive news here in 2025. We had ETFs approved in 2024. We have, Donald Trump being a pro-crypto president. We have a whole sector of the White House allocated to crypto, right? And so we have so much positive sentiment, but Bitcoin didn't really move a lot, right? I mean, in a year, we did 14% total, right? Because 24 topped out around 109K and 25 topped out at around 125K. So why did this happen? Well, let me show you this, right? This is the Fed balance sheet. Now, since 2022, basically, we've been under what we call quantitative tightening, okay? And this here is basically when the Fed is shrinking their balance sheet, right? They're letting their bonds expire or they're selling them manually. They're shrinking their balance sheet and creating tighter liquidity conditions for us. Now, Bitcoin, right? Bitcoin here responds a lot and moves a lot based on expectations, specifically liquidity expectations, right? That's why, rate cuts can be so bullish even before they take place, just based on the expectations of them, right? And so when we're under QT or quantitative tightening, the liquidity expectations are generally a lot lower because of the tighter conditions, right? And that's sort of why we haven't seen that massive bull run in 2025 as everyone was hoping for, because the liquidity just wasn't there. But that has just ended, right? So QT has just ended, which immediately makes the liquidity expectations go higher, right? And so people will sit there and say, well, why are we not pumping now then? Well, it's simple. Actually, I wrote this wrong. It's really simple, right? I understand if you just look at it from a purely, just based on the Fed balance sheet and the liquidity and stuff, technically we should be pumping, right? But we're not. Here's why. You see, QT ended December 1st of 2025, right? Let's compare it to 2019 here. In 2019, QT ended in September. 200 days following that, we saw bearish, choppy, consolidating price action. Right? And so we're seeing the exact same playbook now. Why? Because we still have lower liquidity than prior to the QT, right? We still have a lot lower liquidity here than we had up here, right? We still have interest rates at 3.75%, right? The economy is still feeling the after effects of the quantitative tightening here. And so choppy, slow, boring price action is entirely normal, right? Investors also have to reassess their expectations, right? And that takes a while, especially with a guy like Donald Trump in office. So it's entirely normal what we're seeing now. And I honestly think that 2025 is going to bring one of, if not the greatest bull run that we've yet to see. What would be bad news for Bitcoin here? What do you mean specifically? I mean, there's a bunch of bad news, right? There's endless bad news that we could see. Is this a trade or investment zone in your opinion? What we're looking at here? Like right now, you mean at the current price? Oh. So is this? Yeah, so from a higher time frame point of view, right? So weekly time frame and so on. I would say that right now is a DCA type of environment, right? So an investment type of approach. Why? Because I'm basing the price action, the long-term price action on macroeconomics, right? And if you know anything about macroeconomics, you would know that they are not instant, right? So an improving economy, a growing GDP, a lowering unemployment rate, all these things take time to reflect onto the price of Bitcoin. Bitcoin specifically, right? And even stuff like this that I just showed you before, right? The global liquidity that we're looking at here, right? It also takes a while, after that money hits the economy to enter Bitcoin, because again, going back to the risk curve, right? Bitcoin and crypto sits at the very end of that risk curve. So the money and all that stuff that's hitting the economy has to go through all the other assets and all the other risk appetites before it hits crypto. And so that's why I would never look at, a macro indicator and say, okay, we're bullish now, I'm just going to buy now. Unless you're spot trading and you're sort of, approaching the market with a DCA strategy, right? That's exactly when technical analysis comes into play, because the only reason why support levels and all these things are holding on a higher time frame is because the underlying macro environment supports it, right? So a support level might hold because the underlying macro environment supports bullish price action, right? And so you use technical analysis to time the entries. And that's also what I said earlier in this live stream, right? But basically all of my bull market theses is based on the macro environment, and that takes time. You can't just say we're going to go long, higher from this point, right? That's where you use technical analysis. That being said, I mean, you can always trade, right? You can always trade. I mean, let's have a look at myself, right? I'm long right now. I'm like a futures long, right? So I'm trading it myself. I'm long from about, we can actually see it here. I'm long from 85K. Right, 44K in profit. And so it's not like you can't trade. You just have to be careful and trade with a large enough stop loss that allows you to be wrong for quite some time if you're trading based on macroeconomics, right? I mean, have a look at a great example of this is actually The Big Short. Funny enough, no matter how cliche it might sound. I mean, he was right if you've seen the movie and the real life event, right? He was right about the housing market, but look at how long he was wrong for. He was losing money for 2 years before he was right. Why? Because his investment was based on the macro environment, right? So he knew that. He knew where the market was going. He just didn't know when it was going, right? And that's when you have to use technical analysis and things of that nature. But ultimately, what we're looking for is, of course, for the US ISM Purchasing Managers Index to start moving higher, right? That's really what we're looking for. Why? Because the ISM Purchasing Managers Index is also what we call the business cycle, right? And so the 4-year cycle you've been hearing left, right, and center for your entire career probably is actually based on what you're looking at here. So the reason why the so-called crypto cycle is delayed now is because the business cycle is delayed. Why? Because it's the same thing, okay? Bitcoin is $1 trillion asset, okay? It might be a speculative asset, yeah, and it might react based on speculation, but you cannot deny the fact that it moves primarily based on the macro environment. That's just how it goes, just like any other asset, right? And so it follows the business cycle. So what we need here is for the ISM PMI to go above the threshold of 50 into expansion, start the business cycle, and then start the bull run. That's what we need, right? Now, what causes this? Well, new orders and higher production is what causes the ISM PMI to go higher. So that's what we need to see. But again, what could cause that? Well, for example, if we look at Polymarket here, so they are pricing in a 32% chance that the Supreme Court is going to rule in favor of the Trump tariffs, right? Now, if they do the opposite, which is what it seems like they'll do, then that will positively affect the ISM PMI, okay? Why? Because if there are no tariffs, new orders and higher production is inevitable, right? And so for the business cycle, banning tariffs would be immense. But that's not the only thing. What we also want to see is rate cuts, okay? There's a lot of mixed opinions on whether we're going to see rate cuts going into 2026. Now, my personal opinion is that we will. We need Bitcoin to bleed until March/April. Yeah, it definitely could, man. It most definitely could with the uncertainty that we're seeing. I mean, there's just so much shit going on, so we definitely could. But one of the other things that we need for the ISM PMI to really take off here is rate cuts, right? Why? Well, because it makes borrowing cheaper, which naturally will increase production, right? And a lot of people, there are mixed opinions about this because the interest rates are currently sitting at 3.75% and the inflation is at 2.7%. Now, here's the thing. The Fed has a baseline target of 2%, and we're approaching that target, right? And that leaves room for rate cuts. But typically, we don't see rate cuts here, right? It just doesn't make, a whole lot of sense until you start looking elsewhere. Let's have a look at Trueflation. Trueflation is sitting at 1.21%. That's incredibly low, right? Incredibly low. And so this combined with the fact that Trump wants interest rates at 1% or lower. Let me see if I can find it. Yeah, here. Trump said within a year he wants interest rates to be 1% and maybe lower than that. That's insane, okay? Now that's ridiculous. Now here's the thing. Trump doesn't have any direct influence on the Fed. He doesn't, right? But what he can do, because it's Donald Trump we're talking about, he can create a lot of pressure when it comes to Powell. Not only because he's the president, but because he has all the media on his side. So he can even create pressure on Powell from a media point of view, and that could most certainly affect Powell's decision-making when it comes to interest rates, right? But the biggest factor here is the fact that Powell's term ends in 2026. Fed faces turbulent 2026 as Powell's term ends. So theoretically, Donald Trump can appoint a new chairman in 2026. Now, what do you think happens if a president, right, If a president that wants interest rates at 1% or even lower than that appoints a new chairman, he's probably going to appoint a chairman that agrees with the 1% interest rate, and he's going to get what he wants. So if he appoints a new chairman, there's a really high chance that we're going to see a lot of rate cuts going into 2026. And that is one of the things that could start the business cycle. Again, push the ISM PMI above the threshold of 50, and then inevitably start the Bitcoin bull run, right? And again, that could be in March or April. Who knows? Again, I'm not saying just because I'm bullish doesn't mean I'm just expecting price to hit all-time highs from this point forward, right? I mean, I have a lot of limit orders. I don't know why we can't see that here. Here we go. So if we zoom out here on my exchange, right, you can see that I have my one position running at $47,000 in profit. Then I have another limit order at 75K, and then I have a last one at 67K, right? So it's not like I'm just expecting price to go sky high from this point forward, right? But overall, I do think that a bull run is pretty much inevitable. And don't confuse this, right? Don't get it confused, because a lot of people will look at this and say, okay, well, this is a bull run. This is not a bull run. Just because price is moving upwards doesn't mean it's a bull run, okay? So I really do think that we're due for a bull run, and I do think that 2026 is going to be the beginning of exactly that. And even just zooming out, right? I mean, there are so many people that remain incredibly bearish, right? Look at the price action. Look at the price action. I mean, you cannot sit there and tell me that this is just ultra bearish, right? We're printing higher lows after higher lows. We're holding support, right? And price is only going to hold support if the order flow, if the underlying order flow is bullish, right? We're holding support. We're printing higher lows. We're printing higher highs. I don't see why people feel the need to just be bearish when it doesn't even look bearish. Now, here's the thing. Those same people that call this a bearish market will look at silver and say, wow, what a great uptrend. No, guys, this is probably the most unhealthy move I've ever seen in the history of my career. Okay. And historically, it's not gonna end well. I mean, have a look at this. Have a look at the 80s. I know we can't really compare it to the 80s, because obviously it's different factors that are in play here. But moves like this in any market is just not sustainable. It really isn't. And so the same people calling this here a bear market are calling this a great uptrend. I mean, come on. It's getting ridiculous. So yeah, I mean, overall, I remain bullish, and I'm gonna keep holding my long positions, and that's the end of that. Now let's zoom in here, get some trading done. What time is it? Okay. Let me find the correct format here. Oh yeah, the Wyckoff pattern is also actually quite impressive. And as I said, like, look at the technical analysis here. It just looks phenomenal, right? The same exact bottom as, you know, the previous two corrections is forming right now. We have the DSS Bressert crossing below the threshold of 20, right? The last 3 times this has happened, we saw a continue of the uptrend, right? And so there's really nothing that points towards this being a bear market. There really isn't. It's just the same people that cannot fathom or believe or understand that in order for a market to go up, it has to come down. If it doesn't come down, well, then it's probably going to come down in a very aggressive manner, just like silver, right? Okay. So I have a target for today. We're looking at a 4-hour time frame. I don't know if we're going to hit it today, but I would like to remain bearish on an intraday time frame. Why? Well, I mean, this to me just screams market maker sell model. We have, you know, the first distribution here. So the consolidation that you're looking at here. And we have the second one, which is forming right now. And what comes next following this model is, of course, an end to that exact model, which would mean that we're going to sweep the equal lows that we're looking at down here, right? And so on an intraday time frame, I'd like to remain bearish at least until these equal lows here have been ran. So perhaps we're lucky enough to get a short off today. That would be immense. I guess you could also argue, you know, the power of 3 here, to be entirely honest. This being the accumulation phase, this being manipulation, and then the distribution higher. I guess we're just gonna have to wait and see. Suppose. Yeah, I would really appreciate a short here today. I missed the one I wanted to take yesterday. That was really unfortunate. I think I know. Want to get a new watch, man. Probably a white dial date just next. Doesn't sound too shabby. Doesn't sound too shabby. Right. Actually, this is so... I need another imbalance to be formed here. I really, really do. There's a pretty good chance we're going to get a sweep at this high here. We barely even filled or touched this imbalance. We're probably going to get a rebalance before moving lower again. Took a sip and another sip. Boom for the liquor, then you dive in. Bro, what type of boring ass price action are we seeing today? What's the calendar saying? Do we have anything? Do we have any volatility whatsoever? Okay, we had unemployment claims that beat expectations once again. Are you kidding me? And the GDP beat expectations again too. Wow. I mean, in September, they came in at 3.8. Forecast was 4.3 or 3.3. Nice. They beat expectations today as well by just 0.1%, but still, unemployment rates have been beating expectations for a while now too. I mean, since December 24th, we've been beating expectations. So, I mean, it's really not looking bad, guys. Now, why is this good? Why is this, you know, supportive for Bitcoin, that the overall economy is starting to look much healthier, and that you know, it's showing signs of expansion rather than contraction? Well, let me tell you this, right? The overall economy improving is bullish for one reason. Well, for a multitude of reasons, but the most important one is the investor risk appetite, right? Now I closed the Russell 2000 again because I'm stupid. So let's find that. But when we see, you know, the economy starting to perform better and better, you know what's going to increase simultaneously? Well, the investor risk confidence, right? So typically, when we see gold, silver, and all these assets start to perform very well, and that's because there's an issue within the economy, right? So that means lower risk appetite. So if the economy is contracting, the appetite is typically lower. As the economy gets better and better, so does the risk appetite. And that's exactly what we need to see for crypto to start rallying. So I mean, we really could not be setting up for a more probable 2026. On top of that, right? On top of that, we got the Clarity Act that I also talked about in yesterday's stream. And the Clarity Act is, in my opinion, going to be the single largest bullish catalyst that we could have possibly seen, right? And the thing is, this is supposed to pass in 2026. Hopefully going to pass, right? If this passes, it's going to increase regulation in crypto, yes. And I know a lot of the Bitcoin maxis out there are going to sit there and say, well, we don't need any regulation in crypto, bro. It's like the whole point. It's going to ruin, it's going to ruin crypto. No, the fuck it's not, bro. It's not going to change anything. It's not going to change the underlying network. It's not going to change anything. In fact, you could not get a more bullish scenario than this. Why? Because more regulations allow for so much institutional capital. You guys just wouldn't even fathom it. I mean, let's just have a look at the pension fund sector valuation, okay? So the pension fund is about $70 trillion. Right? I mean, what the fuck? Total pension assets reach record highs globally, $70 trillion. Right? And it's sectors like this that the Clarity Act will now open up for. Right now, these public sectors can't invest in Bitcoin because of its lack of regulation. But the Clarity Act will put an end to that. So suddenly, banks, right? Banks can allocate a lot more capital towards Bitcoin. So that's, a $1 trillion industry. We have the pension fund that can now allocate capital towards Bitcoin. We have the insurance sector. We have so much stuff, right? So much institutional capital that will now be allowed to invest in Bitcoin. And no, it's not going to change the underlying network of Bitcoin. We're still going to have decentralized exchanges, right? We're still going to have offshore exchanges. We're still going to have projects that value an entire purpose is your privacy. All that stuff is going to remain the same. It's never going to be a government controlled asset in that sense. It's never going to be like fiat, right? Never. And so this is like the Clarity Act. We just couldn't wish for a better scenario for crypto, I don't think. I really do think this is the single largest catalyst in 2026 if it passes. And given the precedent in the United States, I mean, I think it should, right? It's pretty obvious that it's going to pass, I would say. It's actually crazy, bro. Look, Dan gets it, guys. The inflation index on Trueflation has collapsed to 1.21%. That's ridiculously low, okay? Now, this is a leading indicator of the business cycle, right? The one we just looked at, the ISM PMI, right? And not because it's always this way, but because we have a Trump Fed chair coming in just a few months. And this is what I'm talking about. We have a precedent that has an interest rate target of 1%. And if he gets to choose the next Fed chairman, he's going to choose one that is aligned with his interest rate target, right? Why does he want interest rates that low? Well, probably has to do with equities, right? He wants to pump the equity market up so far because Trump is a person that measures his success in the markets, right? So he measures economic success in the market. If he has a rising stock market and a stock market that hits all-time highs and equities are going parabolic, well then he considers that a successful term, right? And so there's pretty much no way that he's not going to appoint a Fed chairman that is aligned with his interest rate goal, and that would mean brutal rate cuts in 2026, right? I'm just saying. I'm just saying, this is crazy. I really do think that people are gonna regret not buying now, just like every other correction that we've had. It surprises me that people continue to make the same mistake cycle after cycle, and it just goes to show that they're not meant to make money in the first place, right? That's really how it is. It might sound tough or whatever, but that's just what it is, right? The problem with people is that they say they want to make money, right, and then they complain while Bitcoin is pumping here that they didn't buy while it didn't pump, right? And then when the market gives them a chance to buy Bitcoin at a lower price, like here, they don't, because they're too scared and they're convinced that is the end of Bitcoin. Then it's just the same cycle spiral on repeat, man. And it's like, do you guys just never learn? Yeah, you see, something like this is not bullish. The Bank of Japan will officially hike interest rates to 100 BPS today. I don't know if it's true, right? But I mean, Japan is hiking their interest rates, and that's not good for assets like crypto. Now, again, short term, right? So it's nothing to sort of scream about or go to bed sad about at all. But I put out this post yesterday about the Japanese bond market, right? And it's true, right? The bond market in Japan is going crazy. And so traders are being forced to sell Bitcoin to repay yen-based loans. Now, why would they have yen-based loans? Why would Americans and all these other people go to Japan to take out loans? Well, because historically, Japan has had a ridiculous low interest rate. And so it just made sense to take loans there because the interest rate was so low. But now they're right, they're increasing the interest rate. And so now people are being forced to sell the assets they bought with those loans to pay off the loans because the interest rates is getting so high. They don't want to pay those interest rates, right? And that's why it's a problem short term for crypto. But again, short term worries, in my opinion. Short-term worries, in my opinion. We're seeing sort of the same thing in Bitcoin, right? The bond market in the US, is going much higher. And again, that can mean because yields are becoming that much more attractive, people are going to move their assets away from Bitcoin and put them in a safer asset, right? Because why would they hold their money in Bitcoin? So of course there are concerns too, but this is the thing you have to understand, right? I mean, there's always going to be positives and there's always going to be negatives, right? If there was only positives, this would be a very, very easy job, right? So it's just, you can always find a reason to sell and you can always find a reason to buy. That's why you need a system in place, okay? Without a system, you're basically operating just based on nothing, because you can always find a reason to buy and you can always find a reason to sell. And now what confirms what you do is the system that you choose to trade. Oh, not to speak of the fact that a Clarity Act, right, more regulation around Bitcoin would also remove a lot of the manipulation that we're likely seeing. Again, I can't say anything for certain, but there's obviously manipulation going on in crypto, and so more regulation would remove the gray areas that allows people to manipulate it, right? It's a completely unregulated industry, so obviously there's levels of manipulation that can and probably will be a problem unless the Clarity Act comes in and passes, right? Not to speak of, guys, don't underestimate the amount of attention crypto would get the more regulated it gets, because all the scams that you're seeing, like if you ask somebody over the age of 45 that is not in crypto, they're gonna attach crypto to a scammy industry. Why? Because that's all they hear about in the headlines, right? That's all they hear about is, oh, this person lost this much money in crypto, this person got rug pulled, this person got scammed, whatever, right? Scam would never happen if the Clarity Act passes, right? If we get more regulation. So instead of trying to look at all the negatives around regulation, I mean, just look at the positives that significantly outweigh the negatives, if you ask me. I just don't see why people have such a problem with it. They're acting as if they're just going to change, the foundation of Bitcoin, and that's just not going to happen. They're acting as if, the US government is now going to be in control of Bitcoin. They're not. They can't print more of it. There's 21 million. No more, no less. I sound like a Bitcoin maxi, but I'm not a Bitcoin maxi, okay? In fact, I don't give a fuck about Bitcoin, to be entirely honest. I give a fuck about making a shitload of money. That's what I care about. I care about making cash, baby. And Bitcoin is a phenomenal way for me to do so. And that's why I like it. And whatever can bring me more cash, I like. I have made a lot of money. I've moved to an island full of beaches, palm trees, and good weather. I can do whatever I want. I can travel whenever I want. And do I want more? Yes. I want more. And Bitcoin is going to give me more. And the ultimate thing you can do, guys, all right, is develop the ability to trade on an intraday basis. I have traded on an intraday basis for about 7 years. And you know what that allows me to do? That allows me to make a shitload of money while stuff like this is happening, right? So I make a lot of money based on my spot trades, right? And my investments and stuff. But during periods like this, it's not like I'm losing money because I'm just making it back and shorting the market, right? So the ultimate life hack is being able to understand macroeconomics or the macro environment to base your investments off of, because historically that's just the most accurate way of investing. And then also being able to print on an intraday basis, because then no matter what, if we're ranging, going down, going up, doesn't matter. You can make money. And that is the beautiful part about being a trader. So develop the patience to invest and the skill to trade, and you're set for life. I tell her what money you want. And I'm drinking. Damn. I don't know. I caught this cough like 3 weeks ago and just fucking won't go away. I went to my home country of Denmark for a little bit for Christmas and the holiday season. And then as soon as I landed in that cold country, I just got flooded with a cold that just will never go away. Damn, you can also scroll Twitter for a while, actually. Let's do that. Let's do that. Let's do that. NFT tier list. Get the hell out of here, Greg. That's crazy. This fucking guy, Donald Trump, man. Getting out of control. Getting out of control. We need a new president. My opinion. This guy's crazy. If a hot girl messages you about crypto, block him. Pretty accurate. Pretty accurate. This guy's smashing it, bro. They know, they know, they know. They know, they know, they know. I don't care what anyone says. Grok is the worst AI to exist. Grok fucking sucks. Bro, this market is just really dry. I mean, there's just nothing going on. Look at this on a 1 minute time frame. Are you kidding me? What are we supposed to do here? I mean, this is getting out of control here. Fucking Miami traders, bro. They everywhere. Oh. Here we go. People are so dumb, bro. Bitcoin has become an uncorrelated asset. Yeah, for sure. A $1.8 trillion asset is gonna just be completely uncorrelated from everything. For sure, man. Oh, we're also getting a massive tax return season next year. Or this year, actually. Bro, inflation could low-key become a massive problem if you think about it. We're getting the largest tax return season of apparently all time, right? We are seeing a lot of tariffs, and if they continue, it's going to get nuts. He wants interest rates at 1% or lower. If all of this hits at the same time, we're going to get diabolical interest rates. I mean, we're probably going to go straight back here to 2022 with a 9.1% interest rate or inflation rate. How about tomorrow? What we got? We got PMI coming out tomorrow. Okay, that's going to be interesting. Then we got the Bank of Japan policy rate coming out. That's nice to see what's going to happen there. We have, yeah, tomorrow is going to be a decent day, actually. But this market is a waste of goddamn time, man. I mean, can something just happen so we can get paid? Actually, a BPR we're floating in here. Could see a fill of this hourly imbalance being the next target. Actually, not a bad call. I would have actually been perfect had we. I would not have minded shorting this if it had swept highs before running lower for the power 3, probably into like an optimal trade entry rotation, and then down lower to fill in that hourly imbalance. On a daily time frame here. Ooh, yesterday I didn't even see that. With yesterday's close, we now have quite the daily imbalance. There's just pretty much no way this is not going to be the target. And let me tell you why. So on a weekly time frame, okay, guys, we have no wick, right? We have no wick on the weekly candle. Now, what do we call this in the trading space? We call this the open, low, and then a high close. Because look at every other weekly candle. I mean, can you even see one that doesn't have a wick in each direction? I can see one. So last time this happened was the 4th of August in 2025. Literally. And so the chances that this is going to happen again is just very slim to none. So what typically happens here is that Friday is a reversal day, right? Today and Friday could potentially be a massive reversal higher. Not only to hit this larger daily imbalance, but to put in a high on the weekly candle that we've not yet seen. And that's why it's called an open high, right? Or sorry, open and then low and then a high close. So we'll see. Oh, this is not too shabby. We have the optimal trade entry overlapping quite well. Is that a 15-minute order block? Yeah. Overlapping quite well with the 15-minute order block here. Maybe I'm going to take a scalp long here from the optimal trade entry and the 15-minute order block. That's not a bad shot per se. It really isn't. I mean just a tiny scalp, right? Tight stop. That would be the hourly imbalance filled too. There's a pretty good chance that we might close within this gap here. I mean, us flushing all the way down to lows here, I just don't see that making sense. Okay, we could actually take a stab at a scalp here, and then of course let it run. Not a bad idea. Not a bad idea. Let's see. Did they repost this? They better have reposted that. Yeah, they did. Okay, good. How long have we been live for? I mean, about an hour now. All right. Not bad. Yeah, I mean, a scalp here does not look too shabby to me. I might take a stab at it long here, trying to catch the bottom. Now, this can also be pretty risky because we're essentially trying to catch a falling knife here. Trying to catch the bottom. Now, this can also be pretty risky because we're essentially trying to catch a falling knife here. Which is not totally smart always, but I'm okay trying to give it a small scalp long actually. I'm all right. Let's do that. So we will enter a limit order at. Well, the thing is, this exchange is slightly different from TradingView, so. What's that? 0.4. What am I willing to risk here? We can go for a 10K profit. Oh my goodness. 88,075.4. Now let's just write in the last take profit up here at 89,473. That's a 20K profit for essentially risking 7.8K to make 20K. That's not too shabby. I don't mind that. I'll give it a stab long. I will give it a stab long. Let's see, because this exchange here has, you know, a little bit different prices compared to TradingView. So it's pretty likely that I'm gonna get filled on my exchange before I actually hit my target on TradingView, which is just, it is what it is. But I'm willing to give it a small stab short. Pretty risky play. I'm not risking too much. About half of what I normally would. So not too shabby, not too shabby. I would like for this 5 minute to stay open. I'd really appreciate if I get filled before we start hitting this 5 minute up here. So if I can get filled before that, that would be perfect, because that way I can use the 5 minute as a first take profit and sort of to take the risk off, right? So if I can get filled here before we hit that 5 minute, that would be just phenomenal. I pretty much see no way that we're not going to reach the 5 minute if I get filled before it gets hit. So we'll let it play out here a little bit. This little guy getting out of control, man. All right, let's see. The thing about plays like this is that it is pretty risky trying to catch a falling knife. And what I have a rule, right? For plays like this, where you essentially try and catch the reversal, it's fine from time to time, but you're only going to give it one stab, right? So if you have a thesis that follows a trend and you're very confident in that thesis, right? You can try multiple times. But when it comes to timing a market like this, I only give it one try. I don't want to, you know, burn myself too much. So willing to give it a stab long here. Let's see. And then this here would be the break even in first partial point. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. We're about to get filled. About to get filled. Let's see. We're going to get filled here. Again, not super ideal. You guys can see the price is slightly different from WeX to TradingView. So I'm likely going to get filled on WeX before TradingView fills the position that you see here. Dun, 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 dun. Bro, if they're gonna not fill me before hitting that gap, being that close to getting me filled, I'm gonna go bananas, man. Literally ticks off of getting filled. Are you shitting me? Ugh. Tough life, man. Tough life. Tough luck. Second time this happened this week. Horse crap. Bro, Bugattis are actually insane. Bro, come on, man. You're not going to hit that gap before filling me, are you? This is mad unlucky, bro. Very close to already have hit take profit 1 being that close to filling me. Are you taking the best? Let's see. There's still hope. There's still a chance because I'm going to cancel this position if we hit the 5 minute before I get filled. It's just not worth it. So let's see what happens here. Unless we create a 15 minute. And then I wouldn't mind longing towards that. But it would probably be a while until that happens. If it does happen. Yeah, 10 minutes. Man, just inches off of getting filled here. And again, the blue line would have been take profit 1 and a break even in play. Man. So damn close. But as I said, right? We were probably, bro. This would have actually filled me had I timed this right. That sucks. But you know, as I said, we went down and filled this entirely hourly imbalance. So far, I've been about 100% accurate in terms of my price predictions for today. But unfortunately, just not getting filled, which will happen, right? And then I always refer back to the same bus or the same analogy. And funny enough, that's called the bus stop analogy. And it goes like this. Actually, I'm gonna cancel this order really quick if we hit it. Yeah, can I see the price here? All right, I'm getting ready to cancel this order. Anyway, this is the bus stop analogy, and the bus stop analogy becomes useful in scenarios like this. Now, what is the bus stop analogy? Well, let's say that you are waiting for a bus stop, right? Or you're waiting for the bus at the bus stop. So this is the bus stop, and in there is little you, right? You're waiting for the bus to come. Now, unfortunately, you missed the bus, right? Are you going to chase that bus through the whole city and make yourself look like a fool? Or are you going to just wait for the inevitable? Are you going to wait for that bus to inevitably return? Yeah, right? You're not going to chase a bus through the whole city, look like a fool, right? And not even get on the bus, most likely. No, you're just going to wait for the inevitable, which is, you know, the bus returning. The same exact analogy should be applied in trading. If you miss a trade setup, right? If you're inches away from getting filled, don't chase it. Just like the bus, right? Don't chase it. Just wait for the next one. Inevitably, it's going to come, right? And that analogy alone has changed my trading quite a bit. It's actually one I came up with myself. That's how you know I've missed a lot of setups. When you start getting philosophical with it, then you've missed a lot of trade setups. But the worst part about all of this is that I quite literally drew my Fibonacci tool slightly lower. Like, it was down here. And had I just put it here, I would have been filled already. So, what a bummer. But let's see. In 5 minutes or so, we'll have a 15-minute gap. Now, listen to this, right? Let's say we tap this imbalance and leave a small 15-minute. I'm going to keep this order valid. I'm going to keep the order valid. We have not hit an imbalance since up here, and we barely even touched that, right? So imbalances should always be prioritized over liquidity, if you ask me. Always. Good, man. All right, buddy. All right, give me 1 second, boys. 1 second. God damn, are you taking a piss? So close, bro. Oh, that sucks, man. Just inches away from getting filled here, man. What can we do? What can we do? Not much, eh? Now, is there another opportunity hidden within here? Is the question. Let's see. Oh, there just might be. Hold on now. Oh, there just might be. All right, I'm going to cancel this order anyway. Bro, that's so unfortunate, man. We nearly caught the absolute bottom. Now, here's the thing. All right? The next target for price is almost inevitably the high you're looking at here. I'm telling you, it moves from inefficiency to inefficiency. So we just hit this large hourly imbalance. The next target is almost inevitably going to be the high that you're looking at here. And I'm calling it out now, just like I called the bottom out. All right? I've done this shit for far too long. I'm starting to question it myself, to be entirely honest. Okay, so we've just inversed this 5 minute. It's not terrible. So let's see if there's a potential long position towards the hourly imbalance up here. I don't know. I think the only long area I'm interested in is down here. We're probably not going to go down there again. Man, that would have been such an easy long had I been filled. How unfortunate is that, man? That is unlucky. Golly. Anyway, definitely another short opportunity up here. This is my reversal model combined with my continuation model, okay? All the way up here. So this is a potential short up there. But until then, my next target is the high you're looking at here at 89,744 to be specific. Oh, that would have been a phenomenal long to be in, man. Very stress-free long that was. Can't always get what we want now, can we? We have a large 4 minute here that's about to invert in just 27 seconds. So let's perhaps see. Actually, let's check the volume on this to see if that overlaps with this area up here. I'm shorting. Where the hell is the... Excuse me. Is that it? Yeah. Oh, it's not that one. Where the hell is it? Am I tripping? Oh. Here it is. Okay, so we have one here, not quite up here. Now, would you look at that 4 minute candle? It has no high. It's most definitely going to get a high. Let's check the dip extensions here. See, if anything, I'd be interested in longing from this point here. I think it actually overlaps nearly perfectly with the middle point of the imbalance. Yeah, that's not bad. It's just long in a market like this. If it wasn't for the one down here, it's pretty darn risky, if you ask me. Yeah, I'm not interested in long in here until we get up here, to be honest. Why? Because of this. Well, this. All right, we've just hit the two of the optimal trade entry zones. If we're gonna get a reversal, it's probably gonna be here. So I'd rather just wait until we sweep the high up here, or get another displacement leg higher. Damn. Yup. No, guys. I kind of missed that long there by just a few ticks. And now we're not really showing any signs of anything I want to participate in particular. I mean, I still do believe we're going to go all the way up there. And if I were to take a long, it would be from right here. Something like that. Wouldn't be too shabby. But again, we'd have to bet on a sentiment shift and not just a pullback within a trend. So it becomes slightly more risky. Slightly more risky. We'll just have to see. Well, let's keep this open here. See if we're actually gonna get that reversal from the order block you're looking at here. It wouldn't surprise me. It would not surprise me. I just don't like the look of that 15-minute candle, to be honest. But then again, I don't mind the 4-hour. I mean, it would actually make a lot of sense to hit the imbalance up here now. And you can even argue the power of 3 that we're looking at, like right here. Right, and then this being manipulation. Fuck it, why not give it a small stab long? I'll give it one more chance here at the was it a 1 minute, 2 minute order block here. Keep my stop near the low and then target that hourly imbalance for 2.5 hour. Not too shabby. I'll give it a small stab long here. Again, I'm not gonna risk a lot on this play, just because I missed the initial pump, and this could just be a pullback, but we'll see. Yeah, we'll do like a 3K stop, which is very little compared to what I normally risk. I'm okay with trying that out. Again, I'm just going to give it one stab. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. We're not going to chase this because we missed the initial pump, which really sucks. Yeah, not bad. I don't mind this at all, actually. Again, just a small stab here. Not risking a lot, just not worth it after we missed that initial pump. The rest here can be nonsense, to be entirely honest. Try and check that. Fixed range volume profile here. Oh, it's perfect, bro. Point of control sitting right at the entry. Not a bad play, I will admit. This is not, particularly a bad play here. So we'll see if we can get filled on this or left behind like before. I mean, volume aligns. We have an optimal trade entry order block, and we have a target that goes higher. Why? Because we're moving from one inefficiency to another. So yeah, I don't mind this at all, actually. I don't. Let's give. All right, well, let's see what's going on here. Are we gonna get filled, or what's the deal, man? Perfect. Perfecto. But let me tell you about my brother, though. Uh. Bro, this is not happening again, is it? I mean, let's see. That doesn't look too... We're just getting left behind, left, right, and center. I mean, we just can't get filled today. Yeah, man. I mean, there's just not a lot left to do here. We're just getting left behind, left, right, and center. Price does not want to fill us for some reason. I mean, I'm continuously right here, right? Quite literally predicting bottoms, but just being a few ticks off every time. It's tough, man. It's tough out here. All right, we could be seeing something here. We could be seeing something here. Down, 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 down. Check this out. Yeah. We're rolling smoothly. What would be bad news for Bitcoin here? What do you mean specifically? Aligned with his interest rate target, right? Why does he want interest rates that low? Well, probably has to do with equities, right? He wants to pump the equity market up so far because Trump is a person that measures his success. Interesting. Bro, if we're gonna get left behind once again in the same live stream, that really sucks. Let's see here. I'm still willing to give it a small stab long. Again, this is a very small long position, right? I'm not going to risk a whole lot here. Why? Well, because I quite literally called out the bottom, but we got left behind with, you know, a literal tick. And so just to avoid chasing anything, you know, I'd rather just allocate a very, very low amount of risk to this position. Also, this could, I mean, technically, right, this could just be a pullback within this downtrending market. So there's just not a lot of a reason to allocate a lot of risk. Well, but then again, right, I'm pretty sure we're going to go straight to the highs. Market moves how it moves. And, ooh. Okay, we actually have a very small hourly imbalance up here too. Interesting. Interesting. We're still holding this bullish gap that you're looking at here. I mean, to be entirely honest, it's really not a bad play. It is really not a bad play. The order flow is bullish. We have a clear target. There has been displacement. We've inversed this 5 minute. I mean, it's honestly looking pretty solid. If we can get filled. But knowing our luck, we're probably not going to get filled. Let's see. Let's alert the Telegram really quick. Let's alert the Telegram. All right, let's oh, we're actually filled on, we're filled here. Awesome. Okay, so let's see what happens here. Probably use the high that you're looking at here as a take profit one on a 1 minute time frame. It's pretty significant, so we'll use this as the take profit one and the break even mark, and then we'll see what happens from this point forward. Let's go. I mean, if we flush lows, it is what it is. I'm okay trying to catch the order flow reversal, shift in sentiment, whatever you want to call it, and see what happens, right? Again, just following rules, following the same system I've followed for 7 years now. So we'll see, boys and girls. Again, this here is the take profit one. But we'll see what happens here. $14 in profit. I mean, that is a solid meal at McDonald's. 47. Nah, I'm of course kidding. We would have gotten a better fill had WeX had the same prices as TradingView. That's the only thing that kind of sucks about trading on an exchange, which you obviously have to, right? An exchange that's not listed on TradingView, which is a very low percentage of them that actually are. I think Bybit might be the only valid one on there. Yeah, we'll see. We will see. Down, 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 down. I remain versatile. But to be entirely honest, right, despite what we've seen, this is very slow price action we're getting today. I mean, we've had unemployment claims, which usually would put a significant amount of volatility in the market, right? And it's the middle of New York session. I mean, peak volatility should be here, but we're just not seeing it. And obviously we have days like that, you know. But given the fact we don't have any, you know, major news tomorrow, like it's not NFP Friday or anything, then it really doesn't make a lot of sense. Usually when you get choppy price action on a Thursday, it's because we have NFP Friday, right? And you can say that about the whole week. Like if we have sloppy price action on a Tuesday, more often than not, it's because we have FOMC on Wednesday, right? So that's a little tip for you guys. If you ever see that there's a massive news event the day after, I would highly advise you not to trade, because all the big players, the people that are going to bring volatility into the market, they're all going to be waiting for that large news event, right? Such as FOMC, NFP, and things of that nature. But we'll see here. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. Again, it could also just be a continuation lower, but that's just a risk you take when you decide to try and, you know, trade the shift in sentiment. It's also been pretty difficult to determine the intraday range here the last couple of days. I mean, have a look at this. It's pretty difficult to figure out what type of market we're in, right? I mean, obviously a very ranging market, but it's just on an intraday basis, it becomes nearly impossible to figure out where we're actually going. I mean, what could be the target here is obviously a run down towards the range low down here. But yeah, it's a pretty shitty market, to be honest, these last couple of days here. But let's see. Let's see what happens. Oh, did I forget to press record here? God damn it. Let's see what happens. Let's see what happens. But again, it really doesn't get a lot higher probability than this, right? We have the optimal trade entry of the range. We're trading from an hourly imbalance. We have the 5-minute inversion, and we have the point of control of the range aligning with our entry. So we have the volume backing it up, we have the order flow backing it up, and we have the pullback into the optimal trade entry. So, I mean, if it just goes to lows here, it is what it is, right? Obviously, even the best of the best is going to fail at times. Like the best systems are just going to fail. Otherwise, the people trading them would be billionaires, right? And I'm not a billionaire yet. I just am not, unfortunately. We're getting there, hopefully, but not yet. But yeah, it could have been just a continuation lower, as I said earlier, because what typically happens, right? And that's why this was a semi-risky long, and why I allocated so little risk to it, is because whenever you have a bearish market, which obviously prior to this larger displacement leg, it was just very bearish, right? And so what you typically see is the pullbacks are going to end within optimal trade entry of the smaller range, right? So you draw it from one pullback down to the next one. And so that's exactly what happened, right? This was the small consolidation we had within the downtrend. You draw it from that high down to the most recent swing low, right? And the optimal trade entry is where that pullback that we're now seeing, if it's a bearish market, is likely going to end. And obviously that's what we had just hit. And so that's primarily why I attached that little amount of money to this position, right? But again, as I said earlier in this live stream, you're always going to have a reason to go short, and you're always going to have a reason to go long, right? So it's literally just about executing the proven system that you have. Why? Because trading is a game of probabilities, not certainties. And your system is what allows you to trade with those probabilities, right? Because again, you always find a reason to go long, always find a reason to go short. And what qualifies what you do is your system. And so you just have to listen to whatever your system tells you. Right here, my system told me to go long, so I'm going to go long. Right? Had it told me to go short, then I would have shorted. And that is how you compound. That is how you make cash. But the problem with people nowadays, right? And I do honestly think that this generation might be the worst traders of all time. Like they're just set up for failure from the beginning because of things like TikTok and short form, right? They've just been killing their attention span since they're like 14. And so now they're getting into trading and they're expecting this instant gratification, right? And so as soon as their system fails, they're just going to break down into tears nearly, right? And it's because of these outside factors such as short form content, right? That has led their brain to believe that instant gratification is what it needs. And so trading is the opposite of that. You're not going to get instant gratification. If you are getting instant gratification, it's very dangerous, right? So that's just why people in this generation are finding it difficult to become profitable, because they're just looking for that dopamine hit that they've gotten addicted to throughout years of TikTok and Musically and whatever else there is nowadays. But it really sucks we didn't catch that long from down here. Literally almost pinpointed the bottom, right? So that really sucks. Let me put my full stop down here. I don't know why it says partial TP and partial stop. That's pretty weird. There we go. Do we have a moving average on this one? Here it is. I would have loved to see this candle that inverts the fair value gap close above the moving average, and it just didn't. But it is what it is. We'll take it like a man. Again, let's switch to the golden zone here that I have, because we've just hit that, I imagine. Yeah. So this is the highest, in my opinion, probable area of reversal within any given range, is these two zones that you're looking at here. So we'll see whether that can carry price higher or not. Or not. Maybe not. Maybe we're just doomed to go lower. Maybe we are in fact going to visit the bottom of that range we've been trading in for quite a while here. But again, actually a phenomenal long setup here, especially when you consider the power of three that we're looking at here. I mean, we have so much buy side liquidity, half of it could be enough, right? And so expecting this to be a manipulation move to go higher is more than reasonable and more than probable. Yeah, man. Stars fucking aligned. Great fucking setup. Regardless of the outcome, what a great trade. I won't lie. I would have taken this again if it appeared. So, we're just going to have to reap the rewards or deal with the consequences. Dun, 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 dun. But yeah, man, not a super exciting session today, and that's pretty unfortunate. But you're just gonna have days like that, unfortunately. That's life. Down, 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 down. Down, 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 down. All right, candle flipped here a little bit. That's awesome. Let's see. Let's just see. It's Christmas. I gave you my heart. The very next day, you gave it away. This year, again, guys, I told you these two bottom zones here are phenomenal. I'm gonna have to get ready to close a little bit of this position here. So what we're gonna do is, can we not do this? Yeah, we're gonna close 25% as soon as we run this high here, and then we're of course gonna alert the Telegram too, which if you're not part of, I would highly recommend it. I do stuff like this on a daily basis in there. All of my analysis, all of my systems, everything in one platform. How insane is that? For free. I mean, come on. Ridiculous. But let's see. Let's not get too cocky yet. Let's not get too cocky yet. But again, once we run this high here, it's pretty much a risk-free play. And we've earned decent money on it as well, because I'm going to take 25% off of that high. So, yeah, we'll see. Like the price difference here is just pretty freaking immense, to be honest. Like we got so close to hitting the high on TradingView, and we're just not close at all on Wix. And that's just what you're gonna get, because I'm always charting Binance, right? But I'm not trading on Binance. But for the sake of my viewers, or sorry, my members, right, we're just gonna alert them once TradingView runs the high, because that's most likely what they're trading. Down, 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 down. Yeah, this would be awesome. I mean, if we can just get a push above the high that I've annotated, I'm pretty confident we're gonna run the full take profit. I mean, that's just the picture perfect sign of a shift in sentiment, right? So we'll see. All right, so TradingView is about to run the high here, which means I'm going to alert the Telegram members now, actually. Let's see if we're going to run it. That take profit 1 has been hit, and they should probably consider a partial and potentially even a break even in place here. The very next day, gave it away. All right, let's see. Come on. Let's push a little higher, bro. Literally a tick away from TP1. I mean, let's be serious. Let's get serious. Let's get freaking serious. I need to buy a new coffee machine, bro. I really do. Down. I mean, come on, big dog. It's gonna move on. Not much happening here. Not much happening. Not much happening. Let's take a look at the Bitcoin dominance. How's that looking? Okay. Yeah, I mean, Bitcoin dominance looking phenomenal as well to go higher here. Actually, same exact playbook. Look at that there. I mean, can't complain. Can't complain. Certainly can't complain here. Again, let's get prepared to alert the Telegram members of their take profit one being taken out the way. I mean, that is what we do. That is what we do. So let's see. Oh, maybe I should just stop talking. Every time I talk, this shit flips. Are you taking a piss, bro? Just creating equal highs here. I mean, we're just creating more reason for price to go higher. So, I mean, we'll see. We'll see what happens here. Dun, 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 dun. Oh, I mean, bro, this price action is to throw up over, man. And what is this price difference from one exchange to another? Like, holy shit. How is that even legal? Come home, man. Let's get a move on, bro. I mean, this is horrendously slow. Okay. You know a trick I learned? I visited Wall Street once. It's not a joke. I did actually visit the New York Stock Exchange on Wall Street once. And they told me that if you need price to go somewhere and you're trading on TradingView, you need to use these tools here that TradingView is so nice of giving you. And this is called the magnet. And what they told me was this was going to pull price towards the emoji that you put, right? So you can build a magnetic field up here that's going to attract price towards that area, all right? And you can do the opposite, right? So you can put something very scary at the bottom, like an alien near the entry, which is going to scare price, but it's not going to want to come down here. That's what they told me. This is what they do to their traders on there. So this is the Wall Street strategy, right? We have the magnetic field up here that pulls price towards the highs. And we have the alien down here that scares it away. And they didn't tell me about Bitcoin specifically. Maybe Bitcoin is a daredevil. Who knows? Bro, we're just not hitting highs, man. What the hell? Don't you come with me? All right, let's see. Just hit this 5 minute. Let's see if that can push us higher. I mean, come on. Oh, Jesus Christ, bro. How am I getting this unlucky today? Really? Listen, if anyone has been here throughout this entire live stream, you would understand what I'm talking about. I had a buy limit right here. I had a buy limit right here. Now look at how close we got, man. I mean, literally 0 bars away from getting filled on the long that would have caught the actual bottom of today's market. Secondly, this is my take profit 1. And we're not even a bar away either from filling that partial order. Unlucky, gentlemen. We closed below the 5 minute. That's not great. That's not a great look, guys. That is not a great look. Man, this might be the most boring market I've ever personally put my eyes on. Oh, gentlemen. In the markets, right? So he measures economic success in the market. If he has a a rising stock market and a stock market that hits all-time highs and equities are going parabolic, well then he considers that. We closed below the 5 minute. That's not great. That's not a great look, guys. That is not a great look. We have an online order book of Bitcoin because I don't have my book map. I guess I don't have my book map downloaded. Do we have one? Bitcoin book map. Let's see if we have a. We do have a book map. Let me check out that book map really quick. See if we have any orders laying at the high that we're aiming for here. What's the high here? This is at 89,200. Fucking terrible book map this guy's looking at. All right, we're getting the pump here. We get a little pump back. Damn. We're getting a little pump back. Let's see what's going to happen here. Let me run to the bathroom for a second, gentlemen. I mean, buddy, what is going on, man? We're just not getting anything here. Nothing. We're getting a fat consolidation is what we're getting. Terrible. We kind of have to stick with it now. I mean, I'm not risking enough to want to just take it off. Anyway, gentlemen, this might be taking a little too long. I might have to jump off here. I have some stuff I need to get done. Go to the gym, for example, which I unfortunately didn't get to do this morning. So yeah, I'm gonna call it here. I appreciate all of you coming in, tuning in, watching.